Hello and welcome back to Empyrion Galactic Survival. My name is Spanj and today I'm going to go through Alpha 9 and what we know so far. I'm also going to be sharing some of my thoughts and opinions on what I think Alpha 9 might also include. Now, first of all, we need to go back to Alpha 8. I know that's a weird place to start, but bear with me. So in Alpha 8, and if you're not familiar with the Alpha 8 What We Know So Far episode that I did, I'll link it down below so you can have a look. So in Alpha 8, Elyon showed us a concentrated path on survival and exploration. So we got some nice new big planets. We saw the removal of the green barriers and red barriers on the poles. We got detectors on our vehicles. We also got a load of new medicines and new food groups, new status effects, new POIs, planets, and a bunch of new blocks, including retracting turrets and landing gears. All of that, apart from maybe the landing gears, is focused around survival and exploration, which in my previous video we went into because that were the results of a survey they did quite some time ago now. So will Alpha 9 be a continuation of the survival and exploration? The only information we can see on Alpha 9 right now is a post on the official forums. The post references Alpha 9 as a real game changer. Alpha 9 focuses on gameplay improvements, unlike the last major release that focused on architectural changes. The word improvements is of particular interest, indicating that rather than adding new stuff, it might be addition, or to borrow the phrase, improvements to existing mechanics. That being said, the screenshots do also indicate new stuff too. Either way, so far it looks like small changes that could have big impacts on gameplay. Let's go through the screenshots from that post one at a time. So in this first image we can see, well, the first thing that we're going to notice here is that we've got a ton of drones and they appear to be in some kind of V formation here. As you can see around here, they're all sort of, yeah, it's slightly confusing, this image though, because what's this dude doing up here? You see this one? What's he doing? So you've got all these drones down on the ground level, and note how they are very close to the ground, very, very close to the ground. Some of them almost sitting on the ground. And then you've got this rogue guy up here on his Todd, looking directly at the camera, whereas these guys are facing the base seemingly, but also these ones are kind of facing north. This is a very confusing shot, and I wonder if all of these drones down here on the ground level were actually spawned in manually in order to make it appear like they were in some kind of mass attack formation. And actually the only real drone here is this one up here, who's trying to attack the player taking this screenshot. So I think this is to indicate that we're going to see maybe some larger coordinated drone attacks on our bases, but perhaps at the time of this screenshot the code wasn't there and they just had to spawn them in manually in order to give that kind of impression. The next picture is another angle of the same attack. We can see the drones are now at different heights and stuff, which may indicate that I was wrong in my previous assertions. Certainly in the first picture they looked a hell of a lot closer to the ground than they do there. What's confusing again in this one is that these drones are still facing all sorts of random directions. This guy is facing off to the left. These guys seem to have turned around and are now facing the right direction, i.e. straight towards the camera. We've still got this guy up in the air. I don't know what he's doing, but he seems to have followed the camera down here as well. The turret is in a position that would suggest it's going to be firing, but it isn't. In fact, nothing seems to be shooting. So again, slightly confusing, weird shot. I think it's staged in order to give the impression that we're going to see large-scale drone attacks. But yeah, there's some confusing inconsistencies with this. The next one here is again another angle on this coordinated drone attack, and this time we've got some Xerox down on the ground here. Now this one probably is the most telling that this is a staged shot, because none of these Xerox are shooting, none of these drones are shooting, half of these drones are facing the wrong way. This guy's facing over there for some reason. What is either confusing or maybe an indication of other things. I don't know if this is two drones or one. I think it might be two, one behind the other, but it's very hard to tell. And it also looks like these drones here might have some upgraded firepower, I'm not sure. But maybe we're seeing bigger, stronger, badder drone attacks combined with Xerox ground forces, presumably dropped off by a working troop transporter. That would be nice to see. But also this turret here on the left is pointing somewhere up here. Now either that's the drone that we saw earlier that was way off up into the sky, or that turret is just in its default spawn position. I'm not sure, but this is definitely a staged photo because nobody's actually doing any shooting right now, and with that many drones and that many Xerox around, there'd be definitely things flying off in every direction. But if it's an indication of what an in-game event might look like, then this is potentially quite exciting. The next shot, we see a little bit more stuff than we initially. We see Polaris Mining Company. We sell ore, which is great. We've got this trader here. Okay, this looks fairly standard, like a normal POI. This guy is trading. If we take a slightly closer look, we can see this guy has a health bar and he's called Trader 2, but he has a faction tag right there. Pol faction tag. He also has a number 3 next to that. So I think the 3 is an indication of level, and the fact that he has a faction tag would suggest that the NPCs are now in factions, and maybe as a player we can ally or possibly even join these factions, who knows. But why would you put a faction tag on NPCs if they weren't there to be interacted with? We can't quite make out this wording back there, but there's something about Polaris Mining Company, and they do ore and processing and manufacturers. Yeah, the resolution's not high enough to make out those words over there, but I think it's some generic corporate nonsense. But if we head further down in the screenshot, we can see a mysterious new icon above our status effects, and it looks like a Wi-Fi signal. So no idea what that is. But next to our action bar at the bottom here, we've got 2 new icons on the end here, and again, not quite sure what's going on there. That one looks like either a tech tree or some kind of network diagram hierarchy thing. Could be faction related, maybe. We're not sure. So this is another, a bit like the other one. Okay, we can see a Talon village, and a new Talon village in the background made of wood. Here's our Talon friend. He's got a faction tag of Tal, and again level 3, and again we can see the same icons on our status bar and action bar. So no new information here, just a little indication that another faction has joined the fray. So we've got Polaris and Tal. This one is probably one of the most telling screenshots. So here we see a territory view of this planet, Akua. Now the territory view is indicated by this checkbox and this legend in the top left corner there. We can see that we've got Xerox, Talon and Polaris factions. We haven't got a player faction in there yet, but maybe a player faction might be added in there as a different color, or maybe it'll be left off. But what we don't know is how this territory is assigned. We can see in the Polaris we've got some POIs, in the Talon we've got a POI and a big lake. So, and Xerox we can just about make off a Xerox zone next to that. But there's a POI over here. It doesn't appear to have any territory around it. So I'm not sure what dictates this 3x3 territory allocation. It might just be that they added that in to take a screenshot of it. Or it might be that one land claim device can do a 3x3 block. Who knows? We'll have to see. What is also interesting about this particular shot is this icon at the top here. That is a new icon that looks like a network of some sort, or boxes. And they look like computers to me on a kind of network diagram type thing. But yeah, we have no idea what's going on there. It's different from the icon that was at the bottom of our action bar, so I think that's unrelated. Here we got another example of the faction. This is our alien assassin friend. This handsome chap is showing us that he is in the Xerox faction and he's level 4. What's also interesting is we've got a drone base in the background here that says it's a drone base level 2. Now what I don't know is whether that level 2 is levels like the creature levels, or whether each drone base now has each level of drone base is a different POI. or whether the drone base levels as like a creature would level. I'm not sure what that means. I suspect that there are just different POIs, level 1, 2, 3, 4, and they're all difficult, progressing difficult as the numbers progress. So we'll see what that is, but that's an interesting one. There's our Wi-Fi icon and our 2 other icons here as well. Now this one is the last screenshot they shared with us, and probably one of the biggest reveals of all of them. So we can see now what our new icon at the top actually is. This is logistics. Okay, so that is boxes on some kind of conveyor belt type thing, I think, rather than computers in a network. Logistics. And we can see, if we work our way from the top to bottom, we can see this is BA Prefab 1 container medium. I don't know what container medium is. Surely they would normally just be cargo box, but that might indicate a new type of storage unit. There's also this weird sort of disconnect icon here, which might indicate that you can disconnect the base from the logistics. I don't know, but that is definitely some kind of unplugging like icon there. On the right here, we've got HV Prefab Tier 2 and cargo box, which we're more familiar with. And obviously we've got the ability to swap things between the two of them. Now, if we continue down, first of all, let's take a note. That is 80 concrete blocks, 5 stairs, and I think that is 48 mass blocks. So artificial mass. That is now indicated at the bottom under mass and volume. So which is interesting, because those 3 items take up a volume of 12,900 out of 16,000. So no matter how many slots you've got in this container medium, if the volume fills up, you won't be able to add anything more in it. I think that's what that means anyway, which could bring an interesting dynamic to storage capacity. Now also mass, why would you add mass in unless mass was supposed to play some kind of part in weight capacity? I kind of hope for, and I'm going to be honest here, I actually do hope that this mass, if you were to add that to a ship's mass, for example, you would be adding 91.4 tons to the ship, to the vessel, and you'd need to make sure that those thrusters on that ship were capable of lifting that extra weight. I think adding mass of cargo to influence the flight dynamics of your vessels would be a very interesting challenge to designers, and I don't think it will be a very popular change. I think a lot of people would probably kick back on that one, because a lot of their designs would need to be revised in order to cater for actual cargo. But I think actually it would be quite fun and present a whole new design challenge. We can see the same thing over here in the HV, but a much smaller volume. That you see 250 on a standard cargo box, so it would indicate that this container medium has a much higher volume storage than the small little cargo boxes of HV. So we will now have to be, I suspect, a lot more aware of how much stuff we are putting in our cargo boxes. And again, that only weighs 152 kilos, so it's probably not going to affect the HV too much. With only 250 volume, we're not going to have anything really heavy in our HV. We might be required to do several trips. That being said, if we look down at our little Wi-Fi icon, it is currently lit up, which I suspect is a requirement of this logistics thing to work. And I wonder if you've got a HV nearby and you're in a POI, that you could loot the POI directly into your HV. Maybe even do a network of various vehicles and bases to loot a POI directly into your base somehow. Who knows how far this will go. We still don't know what this icon is down here, however. That is basically this icon on its, well, rotated 90 degrees. So that's your tech tree up there. So I wonder if that is anything to do with tech tree actions. It may be RPG elements. It might be something to do with factions, though they've just recycled the icon. Who knows? I don't know. But the fact that it's on an action bar would indicate it's a shortcut to something either related to tech trees or I think more likely related to faction stuff. But we'll have to wait and see. There is no indication yet on what that means. So that was the last screenshot that they have shared with us, teasing Alpha 9. These are just teaser shots and certainly not commitments to what will be in Alpha 9. Hell, Elyon might decide to pull some of these features last minute and put something else in, maybe. We will just have to wait and see. Honestly, I hope for more quality of life improvements, conveniences, and logic fixes in Alpha 9. I also hope for more optimization. I suffered heavily from lag in Alpha 8 because of the creature spawns and DSL. I really want to be able to fly SVs over POIs again. I also hope for something big. The mass thing could be the big game changer alluded to at the start of the post, but I'm still holding out for those energy shields and weapon rebalancing. I am somewhat confused with the direction that Elyon takes with some things. The possible RPG elements of leveling and creature levels to me seems like a dated and overused method of progression and difficulty. I had hoped for something more akin to how Subnautica handles progression and difficulty. But if they are truly going for RPG elements, then I hope they do it properly and give us skill trees and traits, gear and equipment that improve those traits and stats. Let us improve our characters as we improve our bases and vessels. I'm not sure what Elyon's vision is for Empyrion. Alpha 8 and what I can see of Alpha 9 seem slightly confused in direction. Maybe because I'm not seeing the bigger picture, but as I see it, in Empyrion's future they have two routes to go down, single player or multiplayer. There's nothing to say they can't do both, but I fear trying to do both will mean both will be lacking in delivery. If they go single player, which a lot of changes recently have been geared towards, then story will be key. The Robinson Protocol and subsequent plots in Alpha 8 gave us a start, but much more is needed to keep the player engaged and make them care about the plot. And of course, what's the end game and what will keep the player coming back? Multiplayer, I believe, is an approach that will give the game more longevity, as painful as it is for me to say that, because I long for a great space adventure where I can build my own ships to help me carve my own path through the story. But multiplayer will keep players playing. A great story is great, but once it's played out, replayability for most will be limited. Multiplayer will keep an active community and a continuous flow of new players. The question with multiplayer is whether to focus on PvP or PvE. With PvP, the netcode will need to be spot on, equipment balanced and mechanical loopholes and exploits sealed. But as a sandbox game, it will be incredibly difficult to plug all the holes that PvP gamers will poke into the game's systems, mechanics and logic. PvE, I believe, has a lot of potential. Co-op games can be amazing fun but require an enemy and AI to challenge the most skilled players. The big drone attacks we see in the pictures could be the start of that, but I fear a lot more would be required to provide true challenge. All those drones I could take out in a matter of minutes or two with a nightshade. I'd have a great fun doing it, but it would be short-lived. A better challenge would be if patrol CVs were included in these attacks later, more than one. Alien hover tanks with devastating firepower requiring us to build layered defences, shielded troop transports that can land troops right outside the base, shrugging off turret firepower long enough to drop off 50 rocket launching Xerox. For a true multiplayer co-op survival, the player needs to feel the frantic and chaotic panic of trying to repair, rebuild, shoot, heal and survive all at the same time, and still be balanced enough for them to succeed even if it's just by the skin of their teeth. I can't wait to see what Elyon delivers in Alpha 9. Let me know what your thoughts are on the teasers they've shared so far. What do you hope Alpha 9 brings, and what do you think the end goal of Empyrion should be? Let me know in the comments below, I'd love to know your opinions. That's what we know so far about Alpha 9. Thank you very much for watching, I hope you've enjoyed, and hopefully I'll see you soon. Until then, take care, bye bye.